Hello everyone, hope we're all good. Thanks for all your support, I mean that. Thanks for everyone who likes, shares, comments and subscribes. So here's a bit of a mad story. More of a bizarre story. When I got repatriated from Bangkok and landed in Wandsworth prison in 2010, I struggled to cope with adapting. I struggled to communicate with people. I'd been out the country for 5 years, and I decided to write about my experiences. And I found writing to be really powerful because, as they say, you can fool a baker and get away with a bun, but if you fool yourself, you'll end up with none. So I couldn't lie to myself. I didn't want to invent some crazy story. I wanted to be real and authentic and transparent and share honestly, how I felt and the brutality of it all. And a few of the education members of staff in the prison encouraged me to continue to write and pursue a publisher, so I did, and I wrote away whilst I was in Wandsworth, and upon release I was given a discharge grant and a travel warrant to Bournemouth. That was the last place I left. I left Bournemouth in 2005 and it was the first place I was going back to. I was going to spend a bit of time with my friend up there, Jay Raven. Love you, mate. Always had me back. Been a friend from day one. So that was it. That was the plan. Get out, go to Bournemouth, start fresh. Gets to me mates. Unbeknownst to me, he's in the grip. He's in that world of drug use, but he's not on the radar. He's keeping it cloak and dagger. He's hiding it really well, but he's very thoughtful of my situation. I'm trying to stay clean. He's not using around me, and he's definitely not trying to push anything on me. However, if you're an addict, and you've got that stuff around you, then you're going to succumb to using sooner or later. And that's what happened. Picked up and I was back at it. This time I was in Bournemouth, smashing the life out of it and using like there was no tomorrow. I ended up in hospital because I had a blood clot in my leg. And this is where it went a little bit weird because I was still writing. I hadn't finished this. By the way, this is the book I finished at that time. I hadn't finished writing this, and I got a publisher in Thailand called Derek Sharon. He was the only one who'd take the book. I wrote to everyone. They've all knocked me back. I wrote to John Blake, Penguin, every book publisher you could think of, and they all said, no, it's not for us. We wish you well. Wish you all the best. Take care. And Derek Sharon in Thailand took it on board, give me a couple of £100 as an advance. I was grateful because I didn't think I'd get it past the synopsis, never mind, onto paper and print and published in shops. So I was really grateful. However, I was in this hospital with this blood clot. I'm in a bad way by this time. I lost loads of weight. My mate Jay's been nicked, been grafting with these Albanians, and he's ended up in the shovel. So the parcels he was getting and passing on to me ceased, and I was getting nothing. Yeah, blood clot, in hospital, in a bad way, full of shame. Didn't want to phone me mum and say, look, I want to come home, because that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back to Liverpool, and I wanted to get me shit together there. And I never had the courage to pick up the phone, sadly. Yeah, and I'm in this hospital bed. Next to me is this fat fella, public school speaking. Hi, how are you? Are you okay? So I had a chat with him, began to tell him a little bit about my life story, told him what I was up to. He asked me a few questions. I said I was writing a book, told him about my experience in Thailand. He was like, wow, oh my God. You've had a really rough ride of it, haven't you? And then he began to tell me how he could help me out and, become an agent to me and support me, and maybe we could work together. At the time, I was really grateful for anyone's support, and, he had a few quid tucked behind him, and, he said, are you okay for cash? Do you need any money? And I said, well, I'm a bit short. And the money he was giving me, I was using. I'd get it, and I'm in my wheelchair, and I swear I'd be out the hospital through the day, jump in a taxi, and I'd be going to Bosco and I'd be scoring. You know, and a few times I put myself in some dangerous situations. I went there one day, you know, my mate Ray Bishop was sitting in the room. I've interviewed Ray, Britain's most wanted man. He was once, you know, called, and we were in this house, you know, waiting for these kids, and these Somali kids come running in, you know, and he looked at me. I started screaming, it's him, and I'm in this wheelchair, like, what are they going on about? It's me. Big massive blades on him, right? Get him. Like, what's going on here? I'm shitting myself, right? I'm thinking, like, damn, what the I haven't got a clue what's going on, right? So anyway, apparently someone's had someone off. My face sort of fitted the picture. It wasn't me. I wasn't even there. I wasn't even capable of doing anything. I'm in a wheelchair by this time. So I'm like, oh, Ray, sort it out. Tell him who I am. Tell him I've just got from the Aussie. Let's come out. Panicking because I'm thinking, look, I'm quite vulnerable here. You know, I'm not in a position to start boxing. I'm going to get laid out to rest. End of. Whoa. Stop it, will you? Sort of like got to a point where they didn't pursue or carry on, and I was grateful. You know, they convinced them it wasn't me. Got me bits and got back to the Aussie. I was thinking, another day in the life of like a drug addict. That's the truth. You know, and by that, you know, like you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. I've had enough. You know, I've got high fevers. I'm on all kinds of medication. This fella called Barry in the next bed, you know, he's yelling at me, you know, with these long words, with this book. He says, you know, I'll give you a few ideas, you know. I'll tell you what. He said, I'll tell you what we'll do, Bill. Okay, he said, you know, I'll invite you back to my apartment when you know, you discharge from the hospital, and we'll go through the whole manuscript together, and I'll contact this Derek Sharon in Thailand, and we'll set up a deal. Yes? You know, we'll have a plan, we'll have a joint bank account. I know, because you're financially vulnerable at the moment, and I believe I should take care of our finances, and, you know, we'll split the money 50-50. How do you feel about that? I said, yeah, sound, lad. Yeah, all day, lad. I'm cool with you splitting anything with me, you know what I mean? I really didn't believe that I'd have this put in on a shelf in a shop getting sold at all. That's the truth. I get discharged, but before I get discharged, right, I took a chance and I phoned my mum, you know, and you know, my mum picked up the phone, and she was sobbing as soon as she heard me voice. She said, Mum, you know, I want to come home. And she broke down, you know, and I told her that, you know, I wasn't well. Things had gone a little bit Pete-tong for me, you know, and I was sorry, and, you know, I'm going to try again. And, you know, she got me a car sent up to Bournemouth from Liverpool. A friend of hers come and pick me up and took me back to Liverpool, and I stayed with my mum, you know, and continued to write my book. Barry was in the background all the time on the phone. How are you doing, old boy? You okay? Are you off them drugs yet? I was like, yeah, Sam. I was in my mum's using on the sly, you know, trying to keep it cloak and dagger. She didn't like it, you know, and you know, it's not nice. And then one day, Barry's phoned me up. It's where it gets a little bit bizarre. He phoned me. Hello, Billy. How are you doing? Are you okay? Jolly good, yes. Do you watch news at 10? I was like, nah, not really, mate. Why? He said, okay, just I'll be on there, but nah, just don't mind it, dismiss it. It's okay. If you don't watch it, it's not a problem. I go, all right, yeah, it's hard. I didn't think very much of it. I was telling my mum went, what? Do you reckon he's getting an OBE, or, you know, he's got this? I don't know, so should we check it out? Honestly, God, news at 10, come on, right? I'm not messing, right? I'm sitting there straight away. Barry, the blagger, flies again. Barry, the briefcase, right? So he's all over the news. Barry, the conman. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? Mum, this is him, look. It's this Barry fella. Barry Beardall. So he's on the telly. What's happened, right? He's being in touch with the news of the world. He's an undercover investigator or a conman or some sort of blagger anyway. And he's phoned Gordon Brown. He phoned what's it called, 10 Downing Street, and he's claimed to have, you know, information about some, I think it was an apartment. He wanted to know a few bits of vital information around Gordon Brown, but he was getting it out of the people around him he was close to and selling it on to, you know, the News of the World. And, you know, the news report stated he'd been in prison for a £7 million fucking fraud, you know, and he'd met this guy called Jonathan Rees, who I'd met, by the way. Now, Jonathan Rees was involved in, you know, murders, and he was under investigation, you know, for years. He got acquitted, you know, but he was his best mate. And this Barry introduced me to this Jonathan and was saying, you know, Jonathan's been, you know, he's been on the dark side of the law. So, you know, be mindful. And I thought, is he giving me a little bit of an underlying threat here with this kid? You know, when I think back, you know, in hindsight, I think, is he trying to, like, throw a few hand grenades there to keep me on side? I wasn't too sure. But yeah, so anyway, Barry the Blagger, Barry the Briefcase. He tries to blag 10 Downing Street. He tries to get information regarding Gordon Brown, the Prime Minister at that time. He's all over the papers, and I'm in the process of setting up a joint bank account. Yeah, a joint bank account with this fella. And I just thought to myself, no mate, I'm going to swerve this. And I felt bad because he looked after me with a few quid, and I promised I'd always, you know, look after him when I got the chance. But he ended up, you know, going off the radar, and I ended up off the radar, and then I ended up in rehabs, and then I ended up like using again. And, you know, and eventually when the book did get published in Thailand, that was all it was. It was just published in Thailand. It wasn't worldwide. It was a different cover. This has had about 4 different covers, this book, by this time now. So nothing was coming in. There was no revenue, so there was nothing to give back. You know, unfortunately, Barry passed away. Was it in 2020? Sadly, you know, he was, the last thing he heard was like, you know, he was too fat to go to jail. He'd been nicked again for some kind of fraud, a couple of £1,000, and he was, you know, he couldn't put him in prison, or the judge gave him sort of like compassionately like subsided the prison sentences and give him a suspended because he was overweight, 28 stone, you know what I mean? But yeah, Barry the handbag, Barry the briefcase, Barry the conman flies again. Let's have a joint account, Bill. Me and you, we'll sort it out. Imagine that. Not that I made any dough out of this book anyway, because, you know, you don't, people think you write books and you've got a few quid, you haven't, you know. And on this, for example, this podcast I do, it's a hobby. I'm in the maybe like conservatory here. Got the kids running around in there. I've got to keep them quiet. Not a job. I just love sharing and, you know, telling a few stories about the crazy journeys I've been on. Thanks again for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Take care.